China prepares maritime operations to combat the U.S. in the South China Sea. According to Wei Dongshu, a Beijing-based military expert, the Chinese People's Liberation Army (PLA) has very high war readiness on all fronts, but despite tensions, the risk of large-scale military conflict remains very low thanks to the power of the PLA and strategic deterrence. In recent years, the PLA has demonstrated its ability to maintain high combat readiness in various regions with intensive and simultaneous military operations. Military exercises will be held in the waters of the Chisha Islands in the South China Sea from Wednesday to July 5, according to a notice issued by the Chinese Maritime Safety Administration. During this period, no ships are allowed to navigate in the lines above and all ships must follow the ship's commander's guidance on site. The dream of U.S. domination over the South China Sea region will only lead to conflict with Beijing, an expert has warned. The South China Sea is a highly contested area where it faces competing ownership claims from China, Vietnam, Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines and Taiwan. But the U.S. has expanded its military power in the region. China is believed to be rapidly increasing its preparations to defend the region if it considers the U.S. to overimpose intervention in the region. Last month, the U.S. Navy Independence-class littoral battleship was seen patrolling in the disputed region. The U.S. Air Force and Marines are also seen conducting training exercises in the area with 3 submarines joining ships and planes in the adjacent Philippine Sea. The action was seen as a reaction to the harassment of Chinese ships seeking resources in the nearby waters. But Mark J. Valencia, senior scholar at the National Institute for the Study of the South China Sea, said the reason for the presence of the U.S. military was to ensure its readiness in a number of contingencies. In his column in the South China Morning Post, he said, "This may be the real reason for the U.S. military presence there, to maintain its regional hegemony." China believes the U.S. wants to limit its legitimate increase and thus continue the hegemony in the region. The South China Sea is at the peak of their strategic competition. For China, it is a stomach that has historically been vulnerable and must be turned into a natural shield for national security. This is hosting its vital communication channel which Beijing believes the U.S. can and will disrupt the conflict. Valencia then debated how the communist state was not ready for armed conflict with the U.S. and its allies. But he warned that Beijing was building its ability to fight U.S. intelligence and surveillance. He said, "Some of the hundreds of U.S. intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance (ISR) investigations in the South China Sea each year focus on detecting, tracking and, if necessary, targeting Chinese nuclear submarines." Considering what it considers to be an increasing U.S. threat to its nuclear submarines, Beijing is building capabilities in some of the features it uses to neutralize this U.S. operation and enhance its nuclear submarine survival in the early stages of the conflict. Several countries including Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines and Singapore have expressed concern about the increasing military presence in the area. Valencia believes the situation in the South China Sea will only get worse before it gets better. He concluded, "In the end, the U.S. must directly or indirectly share power with China, and China must share their resources and management. This is a big question, and it may take another generation and even local conflict to realize that this is the only way for a stable and lasting peace to survive in the South China Sea." Tensions in the area have increased in recent weeks after Taiwan deployed Marines to the Pratas Islands amid reports China will conduct military exercises in the area. Kyodo News Japan reported last month how the Chinese People's Liberation Army scheduled a large-scale beach landing on the Pratas Islands. It said the landing training was to simulate the takeover of territory. The Pratas Islands are considered a strategic crossing for Beijing because Chinese warships will pass by while traveling to the Pacific. China has also built bunkers at several atoll points in the area which have sparked fears about potential conflicts.